in the design phase without neighborhood outreach. That's changed, and in the future, there'll be neighborhood outreach. Does you no good. I understand that clearly. The commission has given clear direction to staff that all future projects, before we start design, will roll out to the neighborhoods and discuss them with the neighborhoods. Neighborhood meetings like this. Okay, but I stood right there with you and pled with you to go on the 13th of October to go meet with Don Craig, our city planner, okay, to find out what the universe of your options were. The reality is that your carport was built without benefit of permit. I can't unring that bell, okay? But that may well be. But unless you exhaust your administrative options, unless you reach out and find out, is there a way to work around this? Is there a way to deal with this? The reality is you're in a HARC district. There was no permit. There was no HARC approval. A carport was built over that, okay? That is hard to overcome, and I can't change that.
My point is that because I was not directly contacted early on, today I'm paying the price of $250, and if this thing isn't out of the way, by December the 15th, I'm going to be fined $250 a day from there on out. And guess what? It takes 2 HARC approvals. The last meeting we had in October, you said you would get HARC involved in this process. It never happened. It never happened.
I have talked, what I stated I would do, I would talk to the building department and the HARC departments, and this was solely about fences and relocation and permits for these fences. And I did, and I still don't have all the answers I need.
And the fact that it takes 2 hearings to accomplish something through HARC?
Now, for a demolition permit of a structure, whether it was built with the permit, and some of this I can't pretend to understand, okay? I can't stand here and pretend that I can tell you why you can build a building without permit, without HARC approval, then you need 2 approvals to tear it down. I don't understand that.
But that's
I'm not trying to apply logic to government, okay? I am not, okay? I am here to tell you that those are the rules. I can't unring or undo those rules.
It's
okay?
cost me $250. It can cost me thousands,
but
depending on how
let me address, unrelated to code cases, because that code case would have happened whether this project happened or not. It's coincidental that it came to their attention at this time.
If I knew the severity and how HARC worked, I could have done something to avoid all of this because I could have been proactive. I made the mistake of assuming that you would in fact feed back to us, deliver back on promises, and I was a fool for that.
On October 13th,
and it was too late on October 13th.
I gave you a phone number. I asked you to call Don. I asked you to come in and see him.
It was too late.
It was not. Because you wouldn't have been there today and in front of the special master. You might have made a different decision. You might have made a HARC application on your own. You might have determined that what your options were.
They didn't think it was the correct one.
The bottom line is that for the other properties, because that's decided by special master, I cannot address that, okay? But what we did do is go to HARC and the management and the planning department. And what was agreed upon is we don't have rights to waive building permits or fees associated with the changes, the moving of the fences, that kind of thing. What we do have, or the process is that we go to the City Commission with a resolution and ask for the fees to be waived so that we can mitigate the impact. We can, and we're committing to assisting in the application process, technical advice on how to get the application through so you're not out having to hire consultants to process some things may be approvable at the staff level. Those things will be approved at the staff level. But those things, the only reason we haven't taken a resolution before the commission to get there is because there was a resolution instead to cancel the project. So if that resolution doesn't go forward next week, then we'll bring forward a resolution to waive those fees and at least do what we can to mitigate the cost of the project. To the extent we can, we're still willing to work with the property owner to save as many trees, to mitigate the impacts of the project, okay? But I'm not going to make everybody happy. I can't wave a magic wand and give away city property.
But again, the commitments made to us in October were never met. One was whether or not we would need to pay
purchase city property.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be done.
Excuse me, David.
Pardon?
I think we can purchase.
No,
Excuse
you
me.
have to go to referendum in order for the city to sell land. Okay, the city can't buy or sell anymore.
But there was a project here.
Acquire or dispose of.
Excuse me, David. There's a corner of Watson and Catherine where Sonny McCoy owned the property that was mandated. The city gave him the property there. So that, I mean, it has been done.
At what decade?
I don't know, 20 years ago.
In
Meanwhile,
order to sell city property now, there's restrictions, and we can't do it. It takes a referendum. It's not that it can't be done. It takes a referendum.
okay, so it can be done.
Okay, the bottom
David,
line,
aren't there
can we rent
instances
it?
where
Can we
people
lease
rent
it? Like
it?
you do?
Yeah.
Well, they're called easements.
Right.
Right. There's easement fees to be paid, and there's easement, and as far as the easement fees, we're not likely to waive. The application process, for instance, if we go down the road and make a 1 foot mitigation, let's say the wall, the knee wall encroaches a foot, and we don't have to take it down in order to get the project complete. That has to be memorialized by easement, okay? The easement application will be bundled with others and processed forward with your signature, with your agreement. It's actually going to cost you money on an annual basis, so you have to agree. But if you want it,
Yeah, it's
okay.
going to cost me a lot more to lose all my parking.
Well, yeah.
And my tenants aren't going to be very happy, or nobody else in this whole neighborhood.
I'm not suggesting to you
Right,
that you can
appreciate the
lease.
explanation.
What you have is head-on parking to the exclusion of others.
Right.
Okay, I think.
But we have head-on
you
parking
actually,
and all the driveways in Key West.
Okay, but that's head-on parking is not the issue. Okay, if you pull off here, head-on parking, it's non-conforming parking. Okay, if there's more than 4 spots, 3 spots, 3. Okay, uninterrupted. If you just pulled in 3 cars here, that would be non-conforming because it's non-compliant parking.
So you could only have 3.
That's one issue. 3.
You could only have 3.
3.
The 4th one would be non.
Oh, excuse me. 4. My original. Okay. 4 parking spots head-on, non-conforming. All right. Now move that out on the right-of-way like you have. Okay. And put a sign up that says that's my parking spot to the exclusion of the public. And now you've taken city right-of-way for private use.
Okay, I can
Now,
move
that's
it
not
forward.
the same.
I can move it forward like I explained to you. I can still go, I can move the fence.
And there
I
may
can
be a workaround. If you
All
put if that were 3 parking spots with a divide and access, and then another 2 or 3.
I could have a divide. I have a tree that divides it.
There you go. Now we're talking workaround. Okay, move those things off of public right-of-way, and then it's a driveway. Guess what? We reserve that driveway so that people don't block it. So you're still getting the exclusion of others, but you're using your property to park on. Okay,
But
that's
like I
the
say,
kind
there's
of work.
lots of restaurants, there's
that-
many things in town that are doing that, and you just can't.
But that's the kind of workaround that takes one-on-one conversation, because I can't look at an aerial and say what's possible to do on your property, because I don't know what you're willing to do on your property. Okay, but that's a civil conversation.
That's another
that gets,
thing. Is
that
why
gets,
weren't we informed? I think you said something about the survey. Why weren't we informed, the rest of the blocks, the rest of the people that have encroachments, when you warned the person with the pool? Yeah. Why weren't the rest of us warned?
And that's exactly my point.
You know, why were we warned? Why was he warned and not the
why
rest
was he?
of us?
I can answer that.
There's a lot of
Why was he warned a year ago?
Yeah,
because
we
it
were.
was blatantly obvious. Okay, it was clear. You walking down the street without benefit of survey.
But you don't need line of sight or eye. You don't need. You need plans, and you had plans.
No.
Didn't you?
We were able to say to him, based on our observations, this is encroaching significantly. Okay, and that's the level of conversation you had with him, correct?
But I'm encroaching just as
But-
much as everybody else.
But yours are cars. You don't park them there; they're not encroaching.
But I have planners that have been there for 90
Contradicting yourself.
years. You know, the sidewalk has been there for 90 years. I repaved it by changing the bricks, but it's been there 90 years. So we've been encroaching for 90 years. Why weren't we warned a year ago? Why was line of sight? I mean, you had plans. You had to know that I was
but Paul,
encroaching. Kid Robert.
Paul, you knew that you were encroaching.
To tell you the truth, no, because I've been there for 48 years.
I actually had a
You know,
conversation
48
with you. I
years.
met you on site
Right.
when you were placing the handicap
Right,
ramps.
right.
And it was discussed then, and you were aware of that.
Not of my
So-
other parking. You were talking about me
I-
putting in a handicap
No,
ramp. I was
and
never worried about the
but
parking.
we talked about where the property line was. You were aware that you were
No, I
encroaching.
just had to have
You
a
stated
contractor
to me
come in
that
and
you
put the
built
corners.
those planners
Where
aware that they were in the right of
No,
way.
ma'am. No, ma'am.
You had
I'm
a-
sorry. No, I didn't say that
Paul, you
because I
didn't
told
have-
you that I replaced them before there were rocks and before there were
They make your life hell.
dark
Yeah, they do. Our government's supposed to work for
red
us.
pavers, and the insurance company
This
asked
got
me to
here,
fix it.
we don't know anything.
Yeah, well, you know what? I go back to where I came from. I'm leaving. I am. I bought in 95. I'm over
But
this.
whether we talked about it a year ago or two, I think that was
Yeah, it was a
3 or
couple
4
years.
years ago,
It was a few
maybe.
years ago, yeah.
I still wasn't warned a year before, like this person from the pool or anybody else get robbed.
Yeah,
In my-
and
way
certain
down,
things,
nobody was warned.
he was like, I mean, I was shocked. I had no idea
started-
this
I had-
fence was in the right of way.
Let me finish my explanation. 'Cause
I thought the sidewalk
Are they
was...
going to move this
part of the
fence?
problem is,
Yes.
in order for us to go to you and
They have
say, you're on city property, we need a survey. 10 years ago, we would have needed a survey to go block by block to start recovering right away, okay? 6 years ago, we would have needed a survey to go block by block to start recovering right away. Until we start the project, now this is the catch-22, right?
Right.
I need funding, I need approval to start the project,
That's like
and I
any
need a
business.
survey.
That's like any
And
business.
now I can tell you you're encroaching. Do you have a survey that disputes that?
Well, we're
Okay, so
I actually
live
found
there.
a survey
Talk about all,
today
no,
of some
seriously,
old building
talk about all
records.
the encroachments.
So-
Who would
so-
ever do this here?
and-
And that's before
on
we
one,
get it
on
published
one,
in the blue paper.
we got a survey
Go to
that
the
confirmed
Realtors
exactly what our survey
Oh, they'll
said.
raise hell, won't
wanna
they?
On
show
other,
you
I'm not
an
aware of
article
anybody
that I
else
put in
that
the blue paper
came
2
up with a
weeks.
survey that
And
disputed
they
that.
will raise
But there may still be a survey that surfaces. I don't know.
Absolutely, because who
David,
would
you
right
did
mind
mention
would buy
earlier that we had
anything here?
twice surveyed the city. When I was city manager, we did survey the entire city for encroachments. Karen might be aware of it. And,
Survey or what? Survey, when I say survey, I mean a meets and bounds type survey.
Okay, no, it wasn't a meets
No,
and bounds
no,
survey.
I'm not using the word loosely.
We identified.
I'm using the word, what you're saying is we put together a book of encroachments that were readily identifiable. It doesn't mean that it covered all of them.
No, we sent an engineer employee that went through the entire city and identified all of the encroachments.
Absolutely, we took that to the commission. That's the study that I'm talking about.
Exactly.
That's exactly right.
And we started informing the folks that we encroached. And the commission asked me to stop it.
Absolutely. Yeah, confirmation. That's exactly the process I'm talking about. But that was not a meets and bounds legal survey. Okay, it's not what you design a project on. It's not what you go in the courtroom. Okay. It's not vague, it's informed staff for years. Okay? Going through neighborhoods and identifying encroachment and looking at them through a list. Okay? And then the way you start that conversation is it appears that you have an encroachment on city right of way. Do you have a survey? Okay. And if you get a survey and it says no you don't, if you think the survey's wrong, then you pay for a survey. If you think the survey's right, then you walk on, thank you for your time, and you go on about your business. But that's part of the process that we tried to start here. We are interested in seeing surveys that might contradict our survey. Surveyors can make mistakes, and if we find a mistake, we'll get either a resurvey, we'll get it corrected, or we'll get a third-party survey to see which of the two surveys are correct. Okay. We had to do that on Flagler because we had a property owner that disputed our survey, and we were able to confirm that our survey was correct. And in that case, we had to move a wall 5 feet, remove a wall that was 5 feet encroaching in order to make Flagler work.
One of your people that are involved in the sidewalks told me we've learned a lot from Flagler Avenue. You know, that's not like painting your house. Oh, I painted it the wrong color. 5 years later, I'm going to paint it another color. You make mistakes, Flagler or here or anywhere else, we've got to live with it. My grandchildren are going to live with it. It's not like painting your house. And so please think of, say, oh, we learned, you know. And I was told that by somebody.
This map wasn't, the map that I showed you earlier wasn't pulled into the lawsuit. I assure you that I would go back to the commission and ask to revalidate the map and say, are you sure? Because this is a painful process.
Did you make mistakes on Flagler? Were the mistakes made on Flagler, or did it all work out? Because I tried to turn out on Flagler, and you got to wait for everybody to pass because you can't turn out without hitting the cars.
There's some roads, for instance, Leon, it's going to be a one-way that prevents you from turning out onto Flagler. Leon.
But it's been a danger now for how many, a year?
I thought we were going to. I thought the whole point was to keep them from turning out onto the.
It'll be wider.
So we've improved turning rates. I'm sorry. Mistake. The problem with Flagler is the misalignments. The fact that there were whole blocks that were platted incorrectly, and there was a shift on the other side. So there's a gentleman that had the old road in his front yard, very near George Street. In fact, I think it was on the corner of George. Okay, and it was on the north side, or the North Roosevelt Boulevard side of Flagler. He didn't want to give up his front yard. I don't blame him. Okay, so that caused that jog. Okay. That whole block is like that.
You're going to have a jog there. Flagler doesn't go underwater. So when you jog from from the 900 block to the 800 block, you're going almost in a 45. So who comes along and that's underwater and doesn't know this city is going over the side. You have, yes, David, look at from one.
It is true.
And that'll be underwater.
And it's going to be the same thing at Watson.
There will be a minimum amount of pavement work in this project. under a one-way scenario, we'd have to do substantial payment. No, I don't dispute that.
It's not 45. So what happens when the car is coming that doesn't know the city and that corner sticking way up because it's underwater?
You have jogs. You
have jogs. It's not Flagler that's going to be underwater.
And Flagler,
I would hope they would see the cars.
What happens if there's no cars parked there? Because you can't get out to your car sometimes. What happens if there's no cars? So we're going to depend on cars being parked there so they know how to navigate. Karen, that sounds...
There'll be street signage, stop signs, there are indications.
Channel markers is what you're going to need. At nighttime.
Almost.
David, look at the jog. Look at how far one street...
There's alignment issues on it. I can't change the fact, I can't explain why there's a 40-foot right-of-way and the rest of the right-of-way is 50. Why wasn't that platted? I can tell you that parts of the right-of-way on Virginia were privately owned into the 1900s with a house actually in the middle of the road, okay? And we eventually either bought or somehow got deeded that property. I'm not sure the title because the title transfer because I haven't researched. But the reality is that at one point we got that house in the right-of-way. We actually had a 60-foot right-of-way back when you could get rid of city land. We gave part of that back because we only needed 50. And now it's a 50-foot right-of-way in that section. But the others are 40 feet, and that's...
Well, Margaret Street, the city's encroaching on my property because you have a sidewalk. Is that an encroachment? Because I could go another 1.5 foot out that way is where my property line is. So I have a side, which, yeah, that's true.
Can we get an easement?
I'll trade you property for property.
I don't think.
but you're encroaching on my property, you know.
And you know what? We may have to cure that.
Okay. All right. I know because if I cure it, I hurt everybody's parking. Because and then my wall will be this far. You can't open your door and you can't get over. So I could be a jerk and go say, I'm moving my fence out, but I'd hurt myself and my neighbors in front of me and everybody around. So I can't go and be, a 1.5 foot or more building would be very nice.
Other questions?
Yeah, one more thing from Mr. Keenan that I got today was that in 2003 he closed on that house at Watson. He was told the day before the closing, he was offered the survey plot by whatever title company did that the property had a city line to it in the pool, like we're discussing now. He went to a man, I think your predecessor, I can't remember the name, I'm going to say Brad. That could be it. And the man assured him that there won't be a problem. There's thousands of those all over the city of Key West, and there will be no work done on Virginia Street that would interrupt his quality of life in that purchase of that home. He bought that home. And I feel now that maybe we should advise all the realtors in town that there are thousands of these encroachments, and that they're ridiculous even trying to sell property.
Under Florida law, realtors have a duty to disclose
Yes, I
that there are encroachments and other deficiencies on property. If the roof leaks,
know.
and they know about it, they have a duty
Buy
to
as
disclose.
buyer beware.
Right. It's not. Now, on commercial real estate, it's buyer beware. On residential real estate, the realtor has a duty to disclose. Okay, and that, so I can't answer why
would someone sign
close
off
on a 7.5 foot encroachment and think that it's never going to be an issue. In fact, at the time that he closed on it, the policy at the time was you're supposed to get an easement. You get an easement. Back then they weren't even charging for the easement. Okay? If you get an easement, the language of the easement tells you that when the city gets ready to use that right of way, you have to remove your encroachment. That's what you agreed to by getting that easement. And I know Roland, and I saw a paper trail. So if it was Roland, maybe it was somebody else that was talking. You could open any door at city government, and you may ask the wrong person and get the wrong answer. Okay? But so I can't tell you who to talk to for more information. Okay? But unless it's in writing, doesn't clear up much. And even if it wasn't writing, it doesn't overrule a federal judge. So what might have been true back then, the only way to perfect that practice, because there's fences that you bring to the commission. No. Back then, in order to leave an encroachment, the proper procedure would have been to get an easement from the city and sign that document that says you pay for the and the reality is that would have been the property owner's responsibility to make out the application and follow through. There's been no staff communication. When I talked to the man yesterday, okay, I don't know. We're talking through filters.
Right, it'd be nice to have everyone.
If everybody was in the room, we could say, yeah, remember I talked to you yesterday.
He's talking in the past.
No, I understand. But what I'm saying to you is, I can't conjecture about who he might have talked to. The first time I heard the story, it was his title company that told him that. Although his closing agents didn't know.
Right, they told him that he went down and chased it down.
I never heard that there was a city staff in there.
But I think Juliana's mentioned it last night. Why in the world did the city of Key West come up to that illegal wall and build a new side street?
Without benefit of survey, I can't.
See what I mean? I don't know how we're going to fix the past here, David. I know you guys want to move forward with your project, and we don't want to block it any longer than necessary, but all we're getting out of tonight's meeting is we're going to have to go again. Now more lawyers are going to be brought in. Apparently, if Keenan has a lawyer now, each one of these people should have one.
Well,
And that's just another
good start. We could have had that somewhere. But there's been no response.
I'm going to try to provoke both sides to come to a middle. I know, I really have no interest in any of this. I'm here to document it. I like the truth to be known. I know you both have jobs to do, and I like to see that you do. We're just tenants. If that pool has no fence around it, and handicapped people are coming down the sidewalk and falling in the pool, I don't care. They're welcome to come to any party I throw, fence or no fence.
Florida law requires a minimum 6-foot fence.
And
By the way,
Keenan's not going to pull one back on a 6-foot fence.
But we've got a resolution to that because Florida law is proper hard.
We have too many laws.
That's what she's moving to Panama. Right, so that's a 4-foot. They'll put the latch up
48
here.
doesn't get 54. No. So, based on the city attorney, I'm going to disregard 4 foot. Now, there are, within your property, I don't ever want to. But within your property, we're going to different rules within your property.
Right, just to keep the babies out.
Right.
But when it's facing a public access.
6 foot. I wouldn't normally approve the 6 foot.
Right.
But because of Florida law, the city attorney, assistant city attorney.
David, can I ask?
Well, that